looking to reach out and attract new audiences, to give people more options when they come and visit. So traditionally what you see here in the TT is a peak of people coming. What we're trying to do actually is say, okay, so if there's a peak, there's 2 troughs either side, let's lift those up. Let's get more people coming early and late in the TT and see if we can encourage them to stay for a bit longer. There's also a conversation happening about, well, what are people that are coming for short breaks? So at the moment, the old schedule, I suppose, didn't really encourage or facilitate that in any real way. The aim behind the new schedule is to encourage people that want to come for a long weekend, for example, to give them the ability to do that.
Now, I know that these plans have been in the public domain for some time, but many people, they'll book their travel while they're here during this year's event for next year. The Steam Packet put their tickets on sale well in advance. So why is this only being confirmed now?
So that's just part of the process. So these dates were all announced, I think, in June 2021. So they've been out there in the public domain for quite a while. One of the considerations as to do we secure those dates or do we go and make changes to the schedule was actually exactly what you've talked about. A lot of hotels have already booked up their TT. A lot of travel providers have sold their tickets. And so in terms of should we have made more changes, I think the answer to that was no, was what we went with in the end, because you're right, we are trying to plan for an event that is now next year, but a lot of people are already kind of booking in and locking in their holidays.
There were 2 public consultations on these changes, the second of which took place this summer. There was just over 1,400 responses to that one, 742 of them in support of these changes, 597 negative responses, and around 100 who didn't answer either way. Just over half in support there then. So do you think there is actually enough public support for this?
So I think the numbers you're referring to there are the question around shorter race days. So should we have shorter race days and essentially then more race days in total? And we got different answers to those questions. So the response was, yes, we should have shorter race days, but then that we shouldn't also have additional race days. So there was a bit of conflicting information coming back, I think, from the consultation. But I think what's really important is, I mean, we live on the island, we live with the TT. We are all big stakeholders in this. But to put the event on relies on an army of volunteers. You've got the medics, you've got the marshals, you've got the racers, you've got the teams, everyone involved. And the feedback we got from all of those organisations that run those volunteers that actually help make this event happen were all very supportive of the kind of shorter days but more race day schedule. The logic being that's then easier for them to get volunteers, easier for them to marshal, easier for them to get medic cover, which should mean a better experience, I think, for all concerned.
But more than half of those who replied to this consultation, 872, they were against Sunday road closures. The Superbike race is going to be on what we would normally call Mad Sunday. Why have you gone ahead with that when the public seem to not be in favour?
So again, it comes down to that question of if you want shorter race days, you do need more race days. Obviously, one of those is a Sunday. It is a Sunday afternoon, and I think we're quite used to Sunday afternoon racing. It does happen. It's always been in the schedule as a contingency day. So all that's really happening now is that's being locked in as an actual racing afternoon. It was an interesting one and a difficult one to balance because you're trying to balance, like you say, the views of local stakeholders, people who live on the course, people who are affected by road closures, but you're also trying to balance then what's best for the event as a whole, what's best for the visitors, what's best for attracting more people in, trying to grow the event and making it sustainable into the long term. What we're interested in, and if you look at the whole TT strategy that's been produced, what we're really interested in is making sure that there is a next generation of riders and a generation after that, and making sure that the TT continues to be a big part of Manx culture for the long term.
There was 63 of the respondents as well against the idea of changing from 4 days to 6 days. Again, are you listening to the feedback from the public here?
And that's what it comes down to. If you look at the consultation response, it doesn't break down between the various groups that responded, and there was quite a lot of response from people saying essentially, don't change things, it works well, why are we making these changes? And the reality is that if we don't make some of these changes, we aren't going to see growth in visitor numbers, we're not going to see the TT be sustainable, it's not going to provide the level of economic benefit that I think we need it to provide for the level of disruption that it causes. And so without some of these changes, you're looking at a declining event, and really what we're trying to do is say, actually, we don't want that. We want to grow the TT. We want it to be bigger. We want it to be better. We want it to be a core part, I think, of what the island is about. And the only way to really do that is to say we are going to have to make some changes.
So just how are you going to measure whether these changes are a success?
Generally, I think through visitor feedback, through visitor numbers. So again, if you look at the TT strategy that's being produced, it talks about increasing numbers. There's a trend. It's all part of going digital as well. The whole subscriber model that's starting to be rolled out, that was quite a big success actually this year when it was launched. So really, it will all come down to that visitor experience, visitor feedback. What do the fans say? What do the teams say? What is the experience that we have as locals with the new schedule? What are the impacts of that new schedule going to be? And then also, like I say, just visitor numbers in generally.